Hello, everybody. I was feeling inspired today to share some positive energy in the midst of what feels like pandemonium. You know, what the enemy meant for evil, the Spirit of God means for good. So we can turn that thing around. You know what I'm saying? Flip it upside down. We get to determine our own narratives. People don't determine that for us unless we allow it. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. But it is something we can practice. So I wanted to share, as I do so often when I feel inspired, my own story. Gratitude is how I live. I always search for that silver lining. Like I'm always looking for that one thing that I can hold on to. The one thing I can say, yeah, but that makes it worth it. Or this is possibly the reason why I may be experiencing a challenge in a particular area. Let me give you an example. When my father passed away in a fire in 2018, he visited me to let me know he was leaving. And I was sort of not in a deep sleep. I was in between. I was not in the REM. I was in that in-between space, like purgatory, not quite in a deep sleep and not alert, not conscious. And I heard, he's going, he's gone, be calm, remain at peace. He's going, he's gone, be calm and remain at peace. And I woke up that morning and I felt not sad, but solemn. And then I heard my mom on the phone and she summoned me to her room and she said, "It's about your father." And I said, "I already know, Mom." And I think my mother's head must have turned around about 360 degrees when I said that to her. Like, what? My father visited me and his energy, his spirit, before he left or during his transition. But when I found out how he passed away, it almost robbed me of his visitation because of the horror and the thought of him overcome by smoke and being, just to be quite direct, my father was practically cremated in that fire. And so when I allowed that aspect of it to inundate and to crowd my mind, it felt awfully sad. But then when I started thinking about how my father came to visit, his presence before he transitioned, it made me think like, thanks, Dad. Thank you for that. And that's the silver lining, the visitation, the love, how thoughtful he was, how he knew that his daughter cared for him. Although my father did not raise me, he knew that I deeply loved him. And because my father had addiction and emotional and mental illness issues. So I want to share that with you. No matter how horrible a situation could seem, there is always a silver lining. There is always a lesson there. There's always a lifeline. There is something there that if you look close enough, you'll find it. But it's something you have to practice. It's not something that's going to be on the surface. It's something that's going to be in a spiritual manifestation, supernatural, and metaphysical in nature. To have that gift or to nurture that gift, we have to practice acknowledgement when we get up in the morning. As I close this share, before your feet hit the ground, Don't grab the remote. Don't grab your phone. Don't turn on the news. Don't connect to the world and its problems. The first thing you're going to do is acknowledge that you're alive. You feel your air. You take a deep breath in. And then you let that breath out. And if you're a believer, you thank God for life. And if you're not a believer, you acknowledge that your breath is present. You acknowledge that you are alive, that you can feel your hands and your face and your arms, your cheeks. It's like, I'm alive. Yes, I'm here. Thank you, God. That acknowledgement is how you will be able to see and learn and discern those silver linings in things, because you're establishing in the very beginning, before you take on the world, that there is something that is more powerful, innate, and supernatural that grounds us before we run off to work, before we run off to rehearsal, before we go to the gym, before we deal with our bill collectors, before we deal with doing our taxes, before we deal with being the boss, the leader, or whatever it is that we do in our lives. We have to acknowledge that before we are teachers, doctors, lawyers, singers, before we're those things, we are human beings. And if we don't acknowledge that, we get lost, we get depressed, we feel absent-minded. Illness takes charge of our lives. Because most of what happens on the external is as a result of the discomfort or the dis-ease that is happening internally. Yes, I'm a witness. Be blessed.